Trading is not just a skill, it's a mirror. It shows you how you deal with pressure, how you react to uncertainty, and how much control you really have over yourself. You don't lose money because you don't know the charts. You lose money because emotions take over. You freeze when you're supposed to act. You rush in when you should wait. One moment you're focused, the next you're chasing wins or panicking from losses. This video is not just about trading better, it's about thinking better. It's about learning how to stay calm when everything's moving fast, how to stop forcing trades out of frustration, how to actually stay disciplined when your emotions scream the opposite. If you've ever said, "I knew what to do, but I didn't do it," this is for you. Watch till the end, because if you can learn to control your emotions, you can control your results. This is where real progress starts. Chapter 1. Control fear before entering any trade. Fear shows up before the trade even begins. It shows up when the chart is open and the hand hesitates. It shows up when the heart beats a little faster and the mind starts asking too many questions at once. Fear does not arrive loudly. It slips in quietly and takes control if it is not noticed early. Most traders do not fail because they lack knowledge. They fail because fear makes their decisions for them. Fear causes early entries, late exits, missed opportunities, and rushed clicks. Fear convinces a person that something bad will happen before there is proof. Fear feels real even when it is only a thought. Emotional control in trading starts before the trade, not after the loss, not during the chaos. Before. Fear must be handled before money is at risk. Once money is on the line, fear becomes stronger. The mind becomes defensive. The body tightens. Breathing changes. Focus drops. That is why control must begin earlier. Fear often comes from past pain. A bad loss, a mistake, a day that went wrong. The mind remembers that pain and tries to protect itself. Protection sounds good, but in trading it often leads to hesitation and confusion. Fear says, wait longer, even when the plan is clear. Fear says, jump in too fast because missing out feels painful. Fear pulls the trader away from calm thinking. Fear also comes from caring too much about the outcome of one trade. When one trade feels important, fear takes over. When rent money, pride, or self-worth feels tied to one click, fear grows heavy. A calm trader treats each trade as one small step in a long journey. Fear fades when the outcome of one trade no longer feels like a judgment of personal value. Control begins with awareness. Fear must be noticed. A trader must learn to pause and ask simple questions before entering. Am I calm right now? Is my breathing steady? Am I following my plan or trying to avoid a feeling? These questions are powerful because they slow the moment down. Fear thrives in speed. Calm thinking needs space. The body often feels fear before the mind admits it. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, restless hands, or a strong urge to act quickly. These are signs. Ignoring them is a mistake. Listening to them builds control. A trader who respects these signals learns to step back instead of pushing forward blindly. Preparation reduces fear. When a plan is clear, fear loses strength. When rules are written and rehearsed, fear has less room to speak. A trader who knows the entry, risk, and exit before clicking does not need to guess. Guessing feeds fear. Certainty calms the nervous system. This certainty does not come from the market. It comes from preparation. Fear also fades when risk is sized correctly. Too much risk creates emotional pressure. Pressure creates fear. Fear creates mistakes. Smaller risk allows the mind to stay clear. Many traders think confidence comes from bigger size. In reality, calm comes from control. Control comes from risk that feels manageable. When the risk feels acceptable, fear stays quiet. Time is another factor. Rushing leads to fear. Waiting builds strength. A trader who waits for clear conditions trains the mind to stay patient. Patience reduces emotional spikes. Fear weakens when patience becomes a habit. Habits shape emotional reactions. Emotional reactions shape results. Fear often lies. It says this trade will fail before it starts. It says this time will be different. It says do something now or regret it later. These thoughts feel urgent, but urgency is rarely useful. Calm thinking asks for proof, not feelings. A trader who learns to challenge fearful thoughts gains emotional authority. Authority over the mind creates freedom. One of the most powerful ways to control fear is repetition with discipline. Taking the same type of trade again and again builds trust. Trust reduces fear. When the mind sees that losses are survivable, fear stops screaming. Confidence grows quietly through experience handled with discipline. Fear also decreases when expectations are realistic. Expecting perfection creates pressure. Pressure fuels fear. Trading is uncertain by nature. Accepting uncertainty removes emotional shock. A trader who accepts that losses are part of the process no longer panics when they appear. Fear fades when reality is accepted without resistance. Another important point is separation. The trade is not the trader. The result is not the person. Fear grows when identity is tied to outcomes. Calm returns when identity is rooted in discipline and effort. A person is not the result of a single decision. A person is the result of daily habits and character. The environment also matters. Trading while tired, angry, or distracted invites fear. Emotional control improves when the body is rested and the mind is clear. Simple routines before trading help. Quiet time, deep breathing, reviewing the plan. These actions signal safety to the nervous system. Safety reduces fear. Fear can be trained. It is not an enemy. It is a signal. The goal is not to remove fear completely. The goal is to prevent fear from leading. Leadership of the mind belongs to discipline, not emotion. Emotion informs, but discipline decides. Every trader who learns emotional control learns it the same way. Through honesty, patience, and repetition, fear fades as confidence grows, but confidence does not come from winning. It comes from knowing that one can follow a plan even when fear is present. Strength is not the absence of fear. Strength is action guided by principle. Before every trade, there is a moment. That moment decides everything. In that moment, fear either takes control or discipline steps forward. That moment is quiet. It is internal. It is personal. Winning traders protect that moment. They respect it. They slow it down. Control fear before entering any trade, and the rest becomes manageable. Control fear early, and decisions improve. Control fear early, and discipline feels natural. Control fear early, and trading becomes a skill, not a battle. The market will always test emotions. That will never change. What can change is the response. A trader who learns emotional control is not just learning how to trade. That trader is learning how to lead the mind under pressure. That skill reaches far beyond charts and screens. Personal growth shows up in small choices. The choice to wait, the choice to breathe, the choice to follow the plan. These choices build a strong inner foundation. From that foundation, confidence rises naturally. Fear does not disappear overnight. It softens through practice. It weakens through awareness. It loses power when discipline becomes consistent. Emotional control is earned daily, not granted suddenly. Every calm trade begins before the click. Every controlled decision begins with inner awareness. Every strong trader learns to master fear quietly, patiently, and consistently. Control fear before entering any trade, and trading becomes a process, not an emotional roller coaster. Control fear and progress becomes steady. control fear, and the mind becomes an ally instead of an obstacle. That is where true trading growth begins. Chapter 2. Stop revenge trading after painful losses. A painful loss hits deeper than the numbers on the screen. It hits pride. It hits confidence. It hits the quiet belief that says, "I know what I am doing." The moment after a loss is not just a trading moment. It is a human moment. The body tightens. The chest feels heavy. Thoughts start racing. The mind wants relief fast. That is where revenge trading is born. Revenge trading is not about money. It is about emotion trying to escape discomfort. The loss creates a feeling the mind does not want to sit with, so it looks for action. Any action feels better than stillness. Clicking again feels like control even when it is not. That urge is not logic speaking. That urge is pain asking to be silenced. Most people do not realize this because they think trading is about charts and numbers. In reality, trading exposes how a person handles loss pressure and frustration. The market does not cause revenge trading. The emotional response to loss does. Two people can take the same loss. One pauses and regains clarity. The other jumps back in angry and rushed. The difference is emotional discipline. After a painful loss, the mind starts telling stories. "I need to get it back. I cannot end the day like this. I was right, the market was wrong." These thoughts sound convincing because they come from emotion, not truth. Emotion wants comfort, not accuracy. When these thoughts go unchecked, they push the hand to click again without a clear reason. The danger of revenge trading is not just another loss. It is the habit it builds. Each time a person trades to escape pain, the brain learns that reaction. Over time, this reaction becomes automatic. Loss equals action. Action equals relief. This cycle slowly destroys discipline. What starts as one emotional trade turns into a pattern. Stopping revenge trading starts with recognizing the emotional state after a loss, noticing the inner heat, the tension, the need to fix things immediately. This awareness creates a pause. That pause is powerful. It breaks the automatic response. Without a pause, emotion drives behavior. With a pause, choice returns. Loss is part of trading. It is not a signal to fight. It is a signal to slow down. A loss does not require a response from the market. It requires a response from the mind. The right response is not another trade. The right response is regaining balance. Many traders believe strength means pushing through pain. In reality, strength means knowing when not to act. Emotional strength is the ability to sit with discomfort without reacting. That skill takes practice. It is learned one loss at a time. Revenge trading often feels urgent. The mind says, act now or regret it later. This urgency is false. The market will still be there. Opportunities do not disappear because one trade was missed. What disappears is clarity when emotion takes over. A calm trader understands that one trade does not define the day. One day does not define the month. 1 month does not define the journey. Perspective reduces emotional pressure. Pressure creates reaction. Perspective restores control. After a loss, the body needs time to settle. Breathing slows. Muscles relax. Thoughts become clearer. This physical reset is important. Ignoring the body leads to emotional decisions. Respecting the body supports better thinking. Revenge trading also comes from unrealistic expectations. Expecting to win often creates shock when loss arrives. That shock fuels emotional response. Accepting loss as normal removes surprise. Without surprise, emotion stays manageable. Another cause of revenge trading is attachment to being right. When identity is tied to correctness, a loss feels personal. The trade becomes a statement about self-worth. That makes recovery feel necessary. Detaching identity from results removes the need to prove anything. Discipline is not built during winning streaks. It is built after losses. The choice to stop after a painful hit is a decision that strengthens character. Each time a trader chooses restraint over reaction, discipline grows stronger. There is no shame in stepping away. Walking away is not quitting. It is protecting the mind. A short break can save weeks of damage. Clear thinking returns faster when distance is created. Some of the most successful traders develop a rule that, after a certain loss level, trading stops for the day. This rule is not about fear. It is about respect. Respect for emotional limits. Respect for long-term growth. The market does not reward emotional effort. It rewards consistency. Consistency requires emotional stability. Emotional stability requires boundaries. Boundaries prevent revenge trading. Painful losses can teach valuable lessons if they are handled correctly. They reveal emotional triggers. They show where discipline weakens. They highlight areas for growth, but only if reaction is avoided. Writing down feelings after a loss helps process emotion without action. Naming the frustration reduces its intensity. Awareness weakens emotional grip. Silence feeds it. Confidence does not come from fixing losses quickly. Confidence comes from knowing that discipline will be followed regardless of outcome. That kind of confidence is quiet, steady, and durable. Revenge trading creates emotional exhaustion. Each rushed trade drains mental energy. Over time, this leads to burnout. Calm trading preserves energy. Energy supports focus. Focus supports better decisions. A trader who learns to stop after a painful loss learns a life skill. The ability to pause under pressure applies everywhere. Relationships, work, decisions, and challenges all benefit from this discipline. The market will test emotional control again and again. Losses will happen. Frustration will appear. The difference between growth and damage lies in response. Stopping revenge trading is a choice repeated daily. It is not a one-time victory. It is a habit built through awareness, patience, and honesty. The moment after a loss is a turning point. It can lead to chaos or clarity. It can lead to regret or growth. The direction is chosen quietly internally without applause. Those who master this moment gain an edge that cannot be measured on a chart. Emotional mastery compounds over time just like good decisions. Pain passes faster when it is accepted. Pain lingers when it is resisted. Revenge trading is resistance. Discipline is acceptance. A loss does not need to be erased. It needs to be understood. Understanding leads to improvement. Reaction leads to repetition. Choosing not to trade is often the most profitable decision of the day. Profit is not always financial. Sometimes profit is peace, clarity, and preserved confidence. Each time revenge trading is avoided, self-respect grows. Self-respect strengthens discipline. Discipline creates long-term success. The market is neutral. It does not care about feelings. The responsibility lies with the trader to manage inner reactions. This responsibility is empowering, not limiting. Control after loss is where emotional growth accelerates. This control separates professionals from emotional participants. Stop revenge trading after painful losses, and trading becomes intentional. Stop revenge trading, and the mind stays clear. Stop revenge trading, and confidence becomes stable. This discipline does not remove emotion. It places emotion in its proper role. Emotion informs. Discipline decides. That is how real control is built, quietly, consistently, and deliberately. Chapter 3. Calm excitement after winning trades. Winning feels good. It brings relief. It brings pride. It brings a sense of validation. After the win, something shifts. The chest feels lighter. The mind starts racing, but not out of fear, out of excitement. Confidence rises fast, sometimes faster than it should, And if that feeling isn't managed early, it becomes a problem dressed as progress. Because here's what most people don't realize: excitement can be just as dangerous as fear when it comes to trading. Right after a win, especially a big one, the brain starts rewarding itself. Dopamine kicks in. You feel unstoppable. You believe you've figured it out, and in that exact moment, you become more likely to break your own rules, to take trades you wouldn't normally take, to overtrade, to upsize too fast, or to ignore the process that got you the win in the first place. The emotional high is real, and it's powerful. The most dangerous part is that it doesn't feel dangerous. It feels like you're in the zone. But trading in that state is not control. It's drift. And drift leads to damage. This is where many traders go wrong. They build discipline when they're losing, but they forget to protect their mindset when they're winning. The discipline fades quietly when excitement takes over. And it doesn't always look reckless at first. Sometimes it looks like confidence. Sometimes it looks like momentum. But underneath, it's still emotional trading, just with a different flavor. The solution is not to suppress the excitement. The solution is to observe it, accept it, and manage it. It's okay to feel proud after a good trade. That's human. You put in the work. You followed your plan. It paid off. Acknowledge the win. Celebrate it briefly, internally. Then bring yourself back to baseline. Because the real goal is not to stay excited, it's to stay stable. Stability is what keeps your edge sharp. Stability is what protects your account. Stability is what allows your process to repeat. It starts with self-awareness. Know what you feel right after the trade closes green. Watch your thoughts. Listen to your internal dialogue. Are you thinking about how much more you could have made? Are you scanning for another quick win? Are you thinking, I'm on fire today, or I can't lose? These are signs that excitement is building up. They are emotional cues that your judgment may be shifting. And once you notice them, you can respond. One of the simplest but most effective things to do after a winning trade is pause. Walk away from the screen for a few minutes. Breathe. Let your body settle. Get back into a neutral state before even considering the next move. That space between trades is critical. It helps separate the outcome of the last trade from the decision of the next one. Without that space, you're not trading from strategy, you're trading from momentum and mood. Another key practice is reviewing the win objectively. Ask yourself why the trade worked. Was it based on your setup? Did you stick to your plan? Was there luck involved? Dissect the trade with honesty. This is not about bringing yourself down. It's about keeping your mind grounded. The goal is to stay connected to reality, not float away into fantasy. The more honest you are with yourself after a win, the more prepared you are to handle the next opportunity with clarity. Managing excitement also means protecting your trading plan. Don't change your rules just because something worked. A single trade, even a great one, doesn't mean the entire market changed. Your strategy doesn't need to be rewritten after a win. In fact, that's when it needs to be protected the most. Excitement will try to convince you to adjust your risk, to go bigger, to speed things up. It will try to trick you into thinking you've reached a new level. But mastery isn't proven by bigger wins. It's proven by consistent behavior. Real growth in trading shows up in stability, not spikes. One trap many traders fall into is stacking trades after a win. You catch a great move, and suddenly you're looking to catch another, and another. You feel sharp. You feel aligned. But if you're not careful, that mindset leads to forced trades. The market didn't ask you to take more trades just because you had a good one. You decided that the best traders know when to stop. They know that not every good day needs to be turned into a great one. Sometimes walking away after a win is the best trade you'll make all day. There's also the issue of expectation. After a few wins, expectations tend to rise. You start to think, I should always win like this. And when the next trade doesn't work out, it hits harder. The disappointment feels sharper, because it's crashing into the high you built. That emotional swing is exhausting. The only way to stay steady is to keep expectations realistic. A win is part of the game. It's not proof of perfection. It's not a reason to demand more from the market. It's just one result in a long series. Another important thing to notice is how your environment responds to your wins. Sometimes people around you celebrate too loudly. Friends, family, social media, it can all create more hype. And while it's natural to want to share success, it's dangerous when that sharing feeds ego. Ego and excitement often work together. They push you to prove something. They turn trading into performance instead of process. Guard your mindset from outside influence. Keep your focus on internal progress, not external praise. A good practice is journaling your state after each winning trade. Not just the technical side, but the emotional side. How did it feel? What thoughts came up? What was the urge? Did you feel calm or did you feel pumped? Writing it down helps create awareness. Over time, patterns appear. You'll notice if you tend to overtrade after wins. You'll see if you start risking more, and once you see it clearly, you can address it before it grows. Winning is not the enemy. Excitement is not evil, but both must be managed with maturity. Emotional spikes, whether up or down, distort your edge. They cloud your thinking. They disconnect you from the process that creates long-term results. And that's the goal here. Long-term results. Not just one good day. Not just one perfect entry, but a repeatable system supported by a calm, focused state of mind. So next time you close a great trade, feel it fully, but briefly. Then return to calm. Reset your mind. Recenter your focus. Protect your routine. Keep your rules close. You earned the win by following the plan. Don't lose the plan because of the win. The real power in trading is not in how big you can win. It's in how steady you can stay. That steadiness is built by calming excitement and returning to discipline. Every time, no exception. Chapter 4. Think clearly during fast market moves. Fast market moves challenge the mind in a way few things do. They don't ask for your opinion. They don't wait for your comfort. They arrive with speed. And when they do, everything changes in a matter of seconds. The screen flashes. Prices jump or fall without warning. Your heart rate picks up. Your breathing changes. Suddenly, you're no longer thinking, you're reacting. That's where mistakes happen. In that exact space where the mind switches from calm decision-making to emotional reaction. To trade well during fast moves, your thinking must stay clear while everything else speeds up around you. Thinking clearly is not a natural response to rapid change. The brain isn't wired that way, it's wired for survival. So when something moves fast, the instinct is to react quickly to stay safe. In trading, that instinct often works against you. What feels like safety can actually become danger, because fast decisions made without clarity lead to unnecessary risks. You may exit too early, you may enter out of panic. You may miss your setup completely, and afterward you'll ask yourself why you didn't just slow down. But the truth is, you didn't prepare for that moment, and if you don't prepare in advance, you won't stay clear when it counts. Preparation starts long before the market speeds up. If you want to think clearly under pressure, you need a plan that you've already tested, trusted, and committed to. You need to know what a fast market move means to you. Are you trading it, avoiding it, or scaling back? This decision cannot be made in the moment. It has to be made before, because once the candles start flying, you won't have time to debate. You'll either act on a process or act on emotion. Fast moves are not a reason to panic. They are a reason to get more focused. You need a mental checklist in place. What is the setup? What is the risk? What is the reason for the move? What is your role in this moment? These questions bring your brain back to structure, and structure calms chaos. When your mind has a process, you stop guessing and start thinking. Clarity also comes from physical control. Your body plays a massive role in your ability to stay mentally sharp. If you're tense, breathing shallow and bouncing between thoughts, your judgment is already clouded. The body needs to be trained for these moments. Calm breathing helps. Grounding exercises help. Staying physically still while the screen moves fast reminds your brain that you are still in control, because you are. The market may be wild, but your response does not have to be. One mistake traders often make during fast markets is feeling the need to do something. Movement tricks the brain into thinking it's being productive. But random action isn't strength. Fast markets punish unnecessary moves. The more you chase, the more likely you are to fall into traps. Real control is choosing not to act when the setup isn't clear, even if everything around you is moving. That is clarity. That is maturity. Another part of thinking clearly is staying objective. Fast moves often carry drama. News events, headlines, panic in the community. If you let that noise inside your mind, you start trading the drama instead of the setup. You need to stay rooted in what the chart is telling you, not what others are saying. Your job is not to predict what will happen next. Your job is to make the best decision based on your plan. Keep your workspace clean. Distractions multiply confusion. Close unnecessary tabs. Turn off alerts that don't serve your strategy. You need every ounce of focus when markets get fast. There's no room for guessing or second guessing. Your energy needs to be pointed at execution, not scattered between random thoughts. Thinking clearly also means knowing your limits. Not every fast move is yours to trade. Some are outside your edge. Some are emotionally triggering. That's not weakness. That's awareness. Choosing to sit out is a sign of strength, not fear. You're not in the market to prove anything. You're here to grow, to stay consistent, to protect your capital and your confidence. That mindset keeps you grounded. Fast markets expose the truth. They show how strong your habits are. They show how much emotional control you've built. They show if your process is solid or fragile. And they give you feedback in real time. If you feel confused every time the market speeds up, it's not the market, it's the system or state of mind. That's something you can improve, step by step. Reviewing your behavior during fast moves is important. Look at what you felt, how you responded, and what decisions you made. Don't judge yourself. Study yourself. Growth comes from self-awareness. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for progress. Each time you stay calm under pressure, you're building mental strength that lasts. One way to train for fast markets is simulation. Practice those scenarios. Put yourself in fast environments during your study time. Replay past market moves and walk through how you would handle them now. Mental reps are just as valuable as live reps. They build your thinking muscle so that when it's time to act, you don't freeze or flinch. Keep your position size under control. If your size is too big, you won't think clearly, because fear will take over. You'll watch the profit or loss instead of watching the price action. Clarity disappears when risk is too high. The best traders size down in high-speed conditions unless their system is built for it. They don't chase big wins. They protect clear thinking. Know that fast markets can create opportunity, but only for those who are emotionally neutral. If you're hyped up, you'll likely jump in too early or too late. If you're scared, you'll hesitate or avoid a clean setup. But if you're focused, you'll wait for your spot and take it without hesitation. That is the difference between reacting and executing. Stay connected to the fact that you are human. You're not a machine. You will feel pressure when speed hits. That's normal. But the trader who breathes through it, sticks to the plan, respects the risk, and stays in control, that's the trader who thrives long term. You don't need to catch every fast move. You need to survive them with your mindset intact. There will be days when the market moves fast and your best move is to observe. There will be days when you're ready and you act. Both are valid. Both are part of being a skilled trader. Thinking clearly is about knowing which is which. Clarity isn't just helpful in fast markets, it's essential. Without it, every quick move becomes chaos. With it, every quick move becomes an opportunity to practice control, refine your edge, and build resilience. You can't slow the market down, but you can slow your mind, and in that space between reaction and response, you take back your power. That's where smart trading lives. Not in speed, but in control. Not in emotion, but in clarity. And that clarity is your greatest tool when everything else moves fast. Chapter 5. Stay patient when trades move slowly. Some trades don't move fast. They don't hit your target right away. They don't stop out quickly either. They just sit. They hover around your entry. They take their time. And as the minutes stretch into hours, or the hours stretch into more, your patience gets tested. Your thoughts start drifting. You begin to doubt. You start questioning your plan, your setup, and your timing. You wonder if you missed something. You feel like doing something just to feel in control. And that's when many traders make the kind of decisions that cost them. When a trade moves slowly, it can make you feel stuck. You're sitting there watching price barely move, while your energy is building up inside. That tension needs a release, and if you don't control it, you'll look for relief through action, closing early, adjusting stops, forcing something else to happen. But the truth is, the market is not responsible for your comfort. The market moves at its own speed. Your job is to match its rhythm, not force your own onto it. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about how you wait. Anyone can sit there and stare at the screen, but real patience is calm. It's steady. It's trusting your plan even when nothing exciting is happening. It's knowing that the quality of your waiting often shapes the quality of your results. You don't get paid for being in a trade. You get paid for managing it well. The reason it's hard to stay patient during slow trades is because your brain is wired for stimulation. You expect something to happen quickly. If it doesn't, your mind gets bored, and boredom turns into doubt. That's where mistakes begin. Not because the setup was wrong, but because you couldn't handle the silence. One of the best things you can do during a slow-moving trade is step back. You don't need to stare at every tick. You don't need to monitor every 5-minute candle. If your stop is set, your target is set, and the trade is active, watching it every second does not improve the outcome. It just gives your emotions more chances to interfere. Sometimes the urge to act is just a reaction to discomfort. You feel like you're not doing enough. You feel like you're missing something. But that's emotion talking. You followed your rules, you entered with intention, and now it's about letting the trade play out. Patience is not passive. It's powerful. It's the strength to let time work. Slow trades also bring out a fear of lost opportunity. While your trade drags along, you see other setups forming. You think about closing this one early to jump into something more active. You start to chase movement instead of staying focused. And in that chase, you lose discipline. You turn strategy into reaction. You turn planning into guessing. One of the hardest lessons in trading is learning to stay with a good trade, even when it's not exciting. A slow trade doesn't mean it's a bad one. It means the timing isn't immediate, and trading is not just about setups, it's about timing and execution. That includes knowing when to hold steady. Some of the best trades take time. They build pressure. They move in waves. They test your patience before they reward it. But if you cut them early, you'll never know what they could have been. Managing your energy is just as important as managing your trades. A trader who burns out mentally from watching every small movement is less likely to think clearly when it counts. You need to protect your focus. If your trade is set, walk away for a while. Do something else. Come back with fresh eyes. You don't need to babysit the chart. You need to trust the process. You also need to recognize the emotions that come with waiting. Impatience doesn't feel the same for everyone. For some, it shows up as restlessness. For others, it shows up as overthinking. It might feel like tension in your chest or tightness in your jaw. Learn your signals. Know how impatience shows up in your body and your thoughts. Awareness creates space, and space gives you a chance to respond with control. Build a routine for managing time during trades. Know what helps you stay grounded. Some traders listen to calming music. Some journal their thoughts while the trade develops. Some set alerts and leave the screen. The point is to reduce unnecessary pressure, because that pressure leads to irrational decisions. Patience is also tied to confidence. If you don't trust your system, it's hard to wait. Every candle feels like a threat. Every delay feels like a warning. But when you've tested your method, when you've proven to yourself that it works over time, you don't panic when things move slowly. You stay focused on the bigger picture. You remind yourself that one trade is not the whole game. If you find yourself cutting trades early out of boredom or fear, track it. Write down what you were feeling and what the outcome was. See if those choices actually helped your results or hurt them. In most cases, acting out of impatience costs more than it saves. The short-term relief of closing a slow trade is often followed by long-term regret when the trade finally moves the way you expected. Train yourself to be okay with silence. Not everything needs your reaction. Sometimes the best action is stillness. Sometimes the best response is no response. That's maturity. That's emotional strength. That's what separates disciplined traders from impulsive ones. Staying patient also means resisting the urge to keep checking your P&L. Watching numbers change every few seconds ties your emotions to unrealized results. You start reacting to what you see, instead of sticking to what you planned. Trade the chart, not the money. The outcome will come if the process is followed. Patience is what gives your edge a chance to work. If you cut the trade before the market has time to move, you're not giving your system the opportunity to play out. You're stepping in too soon. And that breaks the whole reason you made the trade in the first place. Trading is a mental game, and the ability to stay patient in quiet moments is one of the most overlooked skills. But it's one of the most important. Anyone can feel confident when price moves quickly in their favor. But only a skilled trader stays composed when nothing is happening. That composure keeps your decisions clean. That composure protects your edge. There will always be temptation to force something. There will always be a part of you that wants speed. But trading rewards the ones who wait with discipline. The market doesn't pay you for watching. It pays you for making smart decisions and letting them work. Slow trades are not a problem. They're a test. A test of your mindset, your habits, and your emotional control.
Each time you stay patient, you strengthen those muscles. Each time you wait it out without breaking your rules, you become more prepared for the next challenge. Real growth in trading happens in the quiet moments. That's where you practice control. That's where you build your edge. Not in the rush, but in the pause. Be the trader who stays patient when nothing is happening. Be the trader who doesn't need noise to feel in control. Be the trader who lets the process lead. That kind of patience changes everything.
Chapter 6. Avoid emotional exits during temporary pullbacks. A pullback can feel like a threat when you're in a trade. You see the price move against your position, and suddenly your confidence starts shrinking. Your heart rate rises, and even if your stop loss is far from being hit, your mind starts giving you reasons to exit. It tells you something is wrong. It tells you to avoid a deeper loss. It tells you that maybe you were wrong, but in most cases, that urge is not coming from your logic. It's coming from your emotions, reacting to discomfort. And when you exit during a normal pullback, just to feel better, you turn a smart trade into a wasted opportunity. What makes emotional exits so dangerous is that they happen fast. One moment you're calm, and the next you're clicking out, not because your strategy told you to, but because you couldn't handle the tension of watching price move in the opposite direction. The irony is, you followed your setup, you made a plan, you sized your position correctly, and yet you still bailed early. Why? Because your emotions got louder than your plan. Pullbacks are a normal part of market structure. No price move goes straight up or straight down forever. Every trend has pauses. Every breakout has moments where price tests support or resistance. These moments are not failures. They are pauses in motion. And if you don't understand that deeply, not just intellectually, but emotionally, you'll keep exiting early. You'll keep closing trades too soon, and wondering why your winners never reach their full target. The market doesn't reward those who need comfort every second. It rewards those who can sit with discomfort without panicking. That includes knowing when to hold through the pullback, not stubbornly, not blindly, but based on structure, logic, and emotional maturity. The goal is not to avoid every dip. The goal is to recognize which dips are part of the process and which ones break the process. To do that, you need clarity before the trade begins. You need to know what a healthy pullback looks like in your system. You need to understand the difference between a minor retracement and a trend reversal. You need to define what invalidates your setup and what doesn't. Once you're in the trade, it's not the time to start asking if every red candle is the end. That decision should already be made before you enter. Emotional exits often come from a lack of clarity around your rules. It's also about your relationship with loss. If you fear loss so much that you exit every time price pulls back a little, you'll never give your trades a chance to grow. You'll always be operating from fear instead of trust. You have to be okay with short-term uncertainty. You have to be okay with watching price move against you for a bit, knowing that it doesn't mean you were wrong. It just means the market is moving in its natural rhythm. The urge to exit early often comes from watching the trade too closely. If you stare at every candle, you'll feel every tick. That kind of over-monitoring creates emotional pressure. You don't need to be glued to the screen the entire time. If you've done your analysis, placed your stop, set your target, and the trade is still within structure, step back. Let it work. You don't need to control every part of it. You just need to manage it with discipline. Another important factor is position size. If your size is too big, every small move feels threatening. You feel anxious not because the trade is bad, but because you've taken on more risk than you can emotionally handle. Reducing your size gives you room to think clearly.
It helps you hold through pullbacks without panicking. Emotional exits often reveal that the real issue wasn't the setup, it was the size. Learning to avoid emotional exits also requires reflection. After you exit a trade early, take time to write down what you felt, what you saw, and why you clicked out. Then review the chart later. Did the trade actually break down, or did it go on to hit your target after you left? You'll start to notice patterns. You'll see how often your emotions pushed you out early, and that awareness helps you grow. You can't fix what you don't understand. Journaling helps you see what really drives your decisions. One technique that helps is setting alerts instead of watching price tick by tick. If your trade needs time, and the only thing keeping you at the screen is anxiety, use alerts to tell you when price gets near key levels. This way, you're not overreacting to every small fluctuation. You're responding only when your strategy asks you to. You also need to learn how to manage the feeling of "I don't want to lose what I've already gained." That mindset causes early exits. You see a little green, and you don't want to give it back. But that green wasn't the goal. The full setup was. The reward you wanted is still ahead. Letting go of the fear of giving back unrealized gains is a big part of becoming consistent. You're not in the trade to protect paper profits. You're in it to follow the plan. Confidence grows when you start holding trades through temporary discomfort and watching them work. Every time you do that, you teach your brain that patience can be profitable. You learn that the initial discomfort doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're in a live market with normal movement. And each time you sit through that moment and let the trade play out, your emotional tolerance gets stronger. It's not just about staying in the trade, it's about staying in the trade for the right reason. If you hold on out of fear of missing out or stubbornness, you're still being emotional. But if you hold because the trade still fits your structure, that's discipline. That's maturity. Emotional exits don't just mean getting out too early. They can also mean staying in too long for the wrong reasons. The key is to align your decisions with your plan, not your feelings. Remember, one emotional exit doesn't ruin your career, but if it becomes a pattern, it keeps you from reaching your potential. You'll always cut your winners short. You'll keep feeling frustrated that your trades never hit their target, and it won't be the market's fault. It'll be your reaction to temporary discomfort. The market doesn't care about your feelings. It responds to structure. And the more your decisions are based on structure instead of emotions, the more consistent you become. That consistency builds confidence, and that confidence keeps you calm when pullbacks show up. You don't need to predict every move. You need to know what moves are still part of your plan, and which ones are not. That distinction changes everything. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns fear into patience. It turns random exits into strategic decisions. Trading is not about being right all the time. It's about managing your process through all conditions. That includes the moments when price pulls back and you feel unsure. Those are the moments that build your skill set. Those are the moments where growth happens. Avoiding emotional exits is not about forcing yourself to stay in. It's about creating a process that you trust enough to follow, even when it gets uncomfortable. It's about choosing discipline over reaction. It's about letting your trades breathe instead of choking them too early. Every time you sit through a healthy pullback and let your plan lead the way, you're becoming the trader you want to be. And that version of you is built one trade at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of control at a time.
Chapter 7. Handle losses without anger or denial. Losses don't just hurt the account, they hit something deeper. They touch your sense of control. They challenge your self-belief. They question the work you've put in. And unless you're prepared for how that feels, it's easy to respond with anger or denial. You might blame the market. You might blame news. You might even blame yourself in ways that do more harm than good. But handling losses is not just about recovering capital. It's about managing what the loss does to your mind, so you can keep trading with clarity, confidence, and control. Anger after a loss feels powerful at first. It feels justified. It makes you feel like you're standing up for yourself. But in trading, anger is not strength. It's noise. It clouds thinking. It speeds you up when you need to slow down. It pushes you into trades that have no place in your system. It makes you take risks that aren't based on opportunity, but emotion. And most dangerously, it makes you forget that losing is part of the game. A trader who expects to win all the time is not ready for this profession. Losses will come, and they won't always be clean. Sometimes you'll do everything right and still lose. Sometimes the setup will be perfect and the market just won't cooperate. That's not a failure, that's a part of the landscape. The sooner you accept this, the faster you'll be able to respond to losses with maturity instead of emotion. Denial is a different kind of trap. It's quieter, but just as dangerous. It's when you look at a loss and pretend it wasn't real. You avoid reviewing it. You don't write it in your journal. You say things like "it didn't count," or "I'll make it back next time." Denial stops you from learning. It keeps you in a cycle where the same mistakes get repeated because you're unwilling to face them. Some traders deal with denial by avoiding the numbers completely. They don't want to look at the damage. They close the platform and distract themselves. But avoiding the loss doesn't make it go away. It just gives it more power. It turns a small hit into a mental weight that lingers for days. What you ignore controls you. What you face, you can change. The healthiest way to handle a loss is to meet it head on. Take a moment. Breathe. Step away from the screen. Let your nervous system calm down. Then come back and review the trade honestly. Ask yourself what really happened. Did you follow your plan? Did you size correctly? Was there something you missed? Was it just part of normal market movement? Separate emotion from fact. Break the trade down without judgment. This process takes discipline. It's not always easy. Your mind may want to move on quickly. It may want to forget and just trade again. But you grow when you pause. You grow when you look directly at what went wrong and learn from it. Every loss carries a lesson, but only if you're willing to listen. Sometimes the lesson is simple. You took a setup outside your plan. Sometimes it's more subtle. You were in the right trade, but your timing was off. And sometimes there's nothing to fix. You simply followed your system, and the result wasn't favorable. That's the part of trading that people underestimate. A good trade can lose. A bad trade can win. Your job is not to control outcomes. Your job is to control behavior. Handling loss without anger means separating your personal value from your trading result. You are not your trades. One red trade doesn't mean you're failing. One bad day doesn't erase your progress. But if you attach your identity to every trade, you're setting yourself up for emotional pain. You'll start making decisions not to follow your plan, but to protect your ego, and that will damage your performance over time. One powerful practice is to treat each loss as a data point, not a verdict. When a scientist runs an experiment and it fails, they don't get angry. They analyze. They want to understand. They see it as part of the process. Trading is the same. Your job is to collect information from each outcome and use it to refine your edge. It also helps to have boundaries. Set a daily max loss. Set a number of trades you won't go over. These rules are not limitations. They're safeguards. They protect your focus. They give you structure to rely on when emotions are strong. Without rules, emotions fill the space. With rules, you stay anchored. Talk to yourself like a leader, not a critic. After a loss, many traders tear themselves down. They replay the mistake.
They call themselves names. They build guilt and shame. This doesn't help. It keeps you stuck. Self-talk should be firm, but fair. Acknowledge the mistake. Take responsibility. But also remind yourself that one moment doesn't define the journey. Keep perspective. Zoom out. Look at the bigger picture. One trade is just one trade. One red day is just a small step in a long process. The best traders lose. They just don't break when they do. They bounce back by keeping their process intact. They don't let one event shake their identity or their belief in what they're building. If the anger feels too strong to manage, it might be a sign that something deeper is going on. Maybe your expectations are too high. Maybe you're over-attached to results. Maybe your risk is too large. These are signals to listen to, not ignore. Emotions are messengers. If you pay attention, they'll guide you to what needs fixing. You're not weak for feeling something after a loss. You're human. What matters is how you respond. Strength is not about feeling nothing. It's about choosing your actions despite how you feel. That's where real growth comes from. Every time you handle a loss with honesty, calm, and self-respect, you're training your mind to stay steady. You're building a foundation that doesn't crack under pressure, and that foundation will carry you through more than just one bad trade. It will carry you through every phase of your journey. Losses are not the problem. The problem is when we let those losses change who we are. Stay grounded. Stay humble. Stay committed. And never let one red trade steal your focus, your discipline, or your belief in what's possible.
Chapter 8. Trade smaller when emotions feel unstable. Some days you feel off, and that matters in trading. You might feel overwhelmed, stressed, distracted, or just mentally heavy. You sit in front of the screen, and even before taking a trade, something inside feels shaky. That's the moment most traders ignore. They push forward, believing action will fix the feeling. But emotion is not something to trade through. It's something to manage before you risk anything real. And one of the most powerful things you can do when you feel emotionally unstable is to trade smaller. Most people think trading smaller is a step back. They feel like it shows weakness or hesitation, but that's not true. Trading smaller is emotional intelligence in action. It's knowing when your inner state might interfere with your ability to think clearly and adjusting risk to protect your decision-making. It's not about being scared. It's about being smart enough to respond to what's happening inside you before it shows up in your trading mistakes. When your emotions are running high, whether it's anxiety, frustration, doubt, or even overconfidence, your thinking changes. You start rushing. You hesitate when you shouldn't. You question things that are normally clear. You second-guess your entries and exits. You hold too long or get out too early. These shifts in behavior usually don't come from poor strategy. They come from poor emotional regulation. And one of the simplest ways to reduce emotional pressure is by reducing position size. Trading with large size demands a high level of emotional control. When your mind isn't steady, that size can quickly become a weight that crushes your judgment. Every tick against your position feels 10 times heavier. Every candle becomes a test of nerve. You're not watching the market. You're watching the unrealized gains and losses move up and down, and your emotions move with them. That's when panic trading starts. You take trades just to fix how you feel. You break rules, hoping for relief, and then you're not trading anymore. You're gambling under stress. Trading smaller gives you breathing room. It gives your mind space to think, to focus, to stay connected to your plan without being pulled into emotional survival mode. It's not about avoiding risk completely. It's about matching your risk to your current mental state. When you feel calm, focused, and clear, you might trade full size. But when you're not in that state, reducing size is a responsible adjustment,
not a downgrade. The best athletes don't perform the same every day. They check in with their bodies and minds and adjust accordingly. Traders should do the same. You don't have to be at 100% to trade well, but you do have to know where you are mentally before you commit to risk. Trading smaller on a rough day is not giving up. It's protecting the long game. It's saying, I'm here to do this for years, not to prove anything today. You don't need to make the same money every session. You need to protect your focus, your confidence, and your process. Most account blow-ups don't happen from a slow drip. They happen on the days when the trader knows they weren't mentally right, but still pushed forward at full speed. They ignored the signs. They let ego drive them instead of wisdom, and they paid for it. When you lower your size, you remove some of the noise. You stop obsessing over the P&L. You get back to reading the chart, following your edge, and staying disciplined. Smaller size makes it easier to follow your rules. You don't feel pressure to be perfect. You don't panic when the trade moves against you. You don't rush out just to feel safe. You allow the trade to work the way it's supposed to. This doesn't mean you reduce size randomly. It means you pay attention to your emotional state, your energy, your focus, your patience, and your clarity. Before every session, check in with yourself. Ask, am I steady right now? Am I chasing something? Am I mentally sharp today? If the answer isn't a strong yes, reduce your size. If you're unsure, cut it even more. There's no downside to protecting your mental capital. Mental capital is often more important than financial capital. Once your confidence is shaken, it takes time to rebuild. Once you start doubting your ability to follow your plan, every trade feels risky. Smaller size helps you protect your confidence. It helps you keep trading when others burn out. It gives you space to stay in the game without feeling emotionally overwhelmed. There's also no rule that says you can't sit out completely. If the emotions are too strong, step away. But if you still want to participate, even on a tough day, smaller size lets you stay engaged without the damage. It lets you stay connected to your process while reducing the chance of emotional decisions that cause harm. And don't just reduce size after a big loss. Do it after a big win too. If you're feeling overly confident or excited, emotional imbalance doesn't just come from pain. It comes from extreme highs as well. When you feel like you can't miss, that's a warning sign too. And again, reducing your size helps bring you back to center. This practice is not about being cautious. It's about being in control. You decide how much risk to take. You decide when to slow down. That mindset builds consistency, and consistency is what builds long-term results. You won't remember every trade, but you'll remember the moments when you chose to protect yourself instead of pushing recklessly. Trading smaller when you feel unstable also trains humility. It reminds you that your mindset matters more than your setups. It keeps you from tying your identity to performance. It keeps your ego in check, and it creates space for growth. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, not to the market, not to yourself. You just have to stay focused on the process that works. And that process includes knowing when to slow down, when to breathe, and when to protect your emotional health over your short-term gains. The best traders aren't the ones who win every day. They're the ones who survive the longest, who stay calm when others panic, who make small, smart adjustments that keep them in the game. Trading smaller when emotions are unstable is one of those smart adjustments. It's quiet, it's simple, but it's powerful. There's a reason professional traders use this tactic. They've seen what happens when emotion meets full risk. They've lived through the mistakes. They've learned that size is not just about opportunity. It's about sustainability. Every time you reduce your size to match your emotional state, you are proving that you're not here for a quick thrill. You're here to build something strong, something real, something that lasts. That mindset is the foundation of emotional control, and it's what separates those who succeed from those who disappear. Chapter 9.
Stay disciplined during long losing streaks. Losing streaks feel heavy. They build slowly, trade by trade, until they begin to take up space in your thoughts, your mood, your confidence. And when they stretch longer than expected, something inside starts to shift. You begin to question what used to feel solid. Your rules feel harder to trust. Your setups look different. You start wondering if you're slipping or if the market has changed. The pressure starts pressing down, and staying disciplined in that mental space becomes one of the hardest things to do. But it's also where real traders are built. When you're in a long losing streak, you feel like you're doing everything wrong, even when you're not. You replay losses in your mind. You overanalyze your last few trades. You scroll through charts, wondering what you missed. You get caught between wanting to fix everything and wanting to walk away. That emotional storm is real. It makes it hard to think clearly. But it's exactly why discipline matters even more during this time. Discipline during a losing streak isn't about pushing harder, it's about staying steady. It's about sticking to the system you've tested, the risk rules you believe in, and the mindset you've trained for. It's about continuing to act with intention, even when the results aren't showing yet. This is the emotional part of trading no one talks about enough. When your brain wants to run, discipline keeps you grounded. The temptation to abandon your rules is loud when you're losing. You might think about doubling your size to get back what you lost. You might want to skip your setups and try something new out of frustration. You might get caught up watching others who seem to be winning while you're not. But none of those reactions are helpful. They feel good for a moment because they give you something to do, but they create more damage over time. Discipline means resisting that urge. It means choosing patience over panic. A losing streak does not mean you're broken. It does not erase your progress. It does not cancel your edge. Every strategy goes through drawdowns. Every trader faces moments of doubt. What separates consistent traders from impulsive ones is how they respond when the results stop coming. Do you chase revenge trades? Do you ignore your risk rules? Or do you slow down, review, reflect, and continue with control? You don't fix a losing streak by trading more. You fix it by staying aligned with your plan. That might mean reducing size. That might mean sitting out for a day to clear your head. That might mean reviewing your journal and reminding yourself of how your edge works. These small decisions don't feel exciting, but they're what rebuild trust in yourself. Your discipline is your anchor when the market feels like it's pulling you in every direction. Without it, you drift. You start making trades based on how you feel, not what your system tells you. And once emotions lead, mistakes follow. You need to be able to trust your actions even when the outcomes aren't showing up yet. That trust is built through daily discipline, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Take time during a losing streak to get honest with yourself. Are the losses due to mistakes, or are they part of the natural probability curve? If you're breaking your rules, address that. If you're following your plan and still losing, understand that no system wins all the time. Sometimes the market simply isn't in sync with your edge. That's not a signal to abandon the plan, it's a signal to stay calm and continue with care. One trade doesn't make your career, and one streak doesn't break it. But your mindset during that streak can shape your future. It can either create deeper emotional patterns of reaction, or it can strengthen your ability to stay focused under pressure. You are training yourself every day, not just in your strategy, but in your self-control. You don't need to prove anything to the market. You don't need to rush to recover. That thinking creates pressure, and pressure creates mistakes. The goal is not to win back what you lost quickly. The goal is to stay mentally strong enough to continue trading well until your edge begins to work again. Use this time to reconnect with your process. Check your journal.
Revisit your trade reviews. Realign with your reasons for each setup. Rebuild the confidence that comes from structure. The answers are almost never found in forcing a win. They're found in continuing to do the right thing even when it doesn't feel rewarding. You might feel tired during a losing streak. That's normal. You might question your ability. That's human. But the way out is not through emotional action. It's through consistent effort. Through showing up every day with a clear plan, managing your risk, and making sure your self-talk remains supportive, not destructive. Your trading journey is not defined by how well you do when everything is working. It's defined by how you respond when things feel uncertain. These are the days where your character gets sharpened. These are the moments where most people give up. If you can stay steady now, you will come out stronger. You will trade better not just because your edge returned, but because you learned how to hold your discipline when nothing was going your way. Take care of yourself during these times. Get good sleep. Don't isolate. Talk to someone who understands the mental toll of trading. You don't have to carry the weight of a losing streak alone. Keep your physical and mental health in check, because burnout sneaks up when emotions go unchecked for too long. Every long losing streak ends. The question is, who will you be when it does? Will you be someone who abandoned your rules and now doubts yourself more? Or will you be someone who stayed grounded, took care of your mindset, and became stronger through the storm? You can't control when your edge starts to produce results again. But you can control how you behave while you wait. You can choose to respect your process. You can choose to trust the work you've done. You can choose to trade with consistency instead of emotion. And that choice made every day is what brings long-term success. There's nothing weak about taking fewer trades, trading smaller, or stepping away for a moment to reset. Those actions are signs of strength. They show that you're in this for the long run, not chasing short-term ego boosts. They show that your discipline is not tied to how you feel. It's tied to your goals. Staying disciplined during a long losing streak might not feel satisfying. It might feel like you're standing still while everything around you is moving. But it's exactly what keeps you from breaking. It's what preserves your capital, your confidence, and your belief in your system. And it's what ensures that when the tide turns, and it will, you're ready to trade with clarity, strength, and complete control. Chapter 10. Choose emotional control over quick profits. Quick profits feel rewarding in the moment. They give you a rush. You feel like you're ahead, like you've done something right, like you've cracked the code. But often, that profit came at the cost of your process. You cut the trade early because you were scared to lose what you gained. You took a setup outside your plan because it felt like easy money. You rushed into something fast without thinking clearly, hoping it would work out. And yes, sometimes it did. But what it took from you was bigger than the money. It chipped away at your discipline. When you chase quick profits, you're not building a foundation. You're feeding a cycle. One where decisions are shaped by emotion, not strategy. One where you start measuring success by speed instead of stability. One where patience, structure, and self-control slowly fade. And in that place, trading becomes reactive. You're always chasing, always needing the next win, always trying to keep the high alive. That is not a system, that is a trap. Emotional control and quick profits often stand in direct opposition. One asks you to slow down, the other rushes you. One strengthens your focus, the other pulls it apart. One teaches you to follow a plan, the other convinces you that planning is optional when things are working. And that's how inconsistency starts, when you trade based on feelings and moments, rather than principles and preparation. The truth is, emotional control isn't exciting. It doesn't give you a dopamine spike. It doesn't come with dramatic wins, but it gives you consistency. It gives you clarity. It gives you the ability to keep trading with strength, even when the market isn't doing what you hoped it would. That control builds a real edge, not a lucky streak. You won't become a disciplined trader by stacking fast wins. You become one by choosing the harder option, by saying no when the impulsive move looks tempting, by sticking to your rules even when your emotions want to override them. That's where the real transformation happens, not in the trades that go your way, but in the choices you make before and after them. It's easy to think you'll get emotional control after you make enough money, but it doesn't work that way. If your mindset isn't solid now, money will only make things louder. More pressure, more greed, more fear of losing what you just made. And when your emotions get stronger than your system, no amount of profit will protect you. This is why the best traders focus on how they trade, not just what they make. They watch their behavior, they study their reactions, they care more about following their plan than chasing a bigger number. And because of that, they stay in the game longer. They don't burn out after a hot streak. They don't crash when the market changes. They adapt. They stay calm. They trade with intention. You have to decide what kind of trader you want to be. One who rides highs and crashes with the lows, or one who builds something stable, even if it takes longer. Choosing emotional control doesn't mean you move slower. It means you move smarter. You pick your trades with clarity. You let the trade come to you. You don't need constant wins to feel confident, because your confidence comes from knowing you're doing things the right way. There will always be trades that tempt you, setups that almost match your plan, situations that look good enough, but emotional control means holding your standard, not lowering it because you're bored or anxious, not adjusting it because you had a few losses. You hold the line, even when no one's watching, even when it would be easy to cheat just a little. That kind of self-respect pays you back far more than any fast trade. It's also about learning to be okay with letting trades go. You don't need to be in every move. You don't have to catch every spike. You don't lose anything by watching a setup pass if it doesn't meet your criteria. In fact, you gain strength every time you say no to a trade that isn't aligned with your system. You reinforce your ability to choose quality over urgency. Most people think they need more setups, more trades, more wins. But what they really need is more control, more discipline, more honesty about their emotions. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if your emotions are leading, it won't matter. The market will find your weakness and expose it over and over, until you either fix it or stop trading. Emotional control is not something you turn on when it's convenient. It's a way of thinking, a way of showing up every day, a way of approaching the market with maturity. And that mindset gets tested when the quick wins are right in front of you, when the urge to break your rules feels small and harmless. That's where the real decision is made, not in the big trades, but in the small choices you make every day. There's a part of you that wants results now, that doesn't want to wait, that feels like you're behind if you're not constantly profiting. But that part is short-sighted. It wants comfort. It wants relief. It doesn't understand that consistency is what makes this career real. Fast money without control leads to faster losses. But slow growth built on discipline, that becomes freedom. This doesn't mean you avoid all quick trades. It means you take them only if they fit your plan, only if your emotions are quiet, only if your judgment is clear. You don't avoid opportunity. You filter it. You trade based on skill, not impulse, and that makes every decision stronger. You'll know you've grown when you can walk away from a trade and feel no regret, because it wasn't right even if it worked out for someone else. You'll know you're improving when you can take a win without chasing another right after it. You'll know you're maturing when you no longer tie your self-worth to your P&L. The real goal is not just to make money. It's to become the kind of person who can handle everything that comes with it. The stress, the temptation, the uncertainty, the highs and the lows. Emotional control prepares you for that. It makes you strong enough to handle success without getting reckless, and failure without falling apart. Choosing emotional control over quick profits is not easy, but it's always worth it, because what you're building is bigger than one good trade. You're building consistency, you're building confidence, you're building something that lasts. And that kind of progress doesn't just change your trading, it changes your life.